Well, when it comes to Disney World, one thing that is always constant is that things are always changing. Whether those changes are for the better or not, very much is up to interpretation and opinion. But there is another change at the Disney parks as virtual queues at Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind, and Tiana's Bayou Adventure are going to be ending next week. And we have an article here from Blog Mickey that talks about this and some of the reasons behind this and how this could impact people going to Disney. And is this to sell potentially more lightning lanes, which I think it maybe could be that, as well as also being something that most guests will enjoy. So you might be looking at a win-win there in terms of what Disney may want and what the guests may want. So we'll read through this and we'll talk about it here. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And it says here, Walt Disney World will soon end the virtual queue systems at Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind, and Epcot, and Tiana's Bayou Adventure in Magic Kingdom. Starting February 25th, Walt Disney World will end the virtual queue systems and open up a traditional standby line for both attractions. For Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind, 1,005 days will have elapsed since the attraction opened with a virtual queue and when standby will be introduced. For Tiana's Bayou Adventure, it has been 242 days since virtual queue was introduced. The end of the virtual queue at each attraction will have significant impact on how you plan going forward. With the end of the 6:30 a.m. wake-up calls to try for a virtual queue, guests will be able to work each of the attractions into their day at the parks as they see fit. The standby queue will give guests more options moving forward and will allow for more flexibility within your day. So I think for people who go a lot, locals and things, I think the virtual queues are popular with that crowd because they know how to work it, they know how to operate it, and you can get a virtual group or a virtual boarding group very easily. I think for people who are infrequent guests, it is a much more cumbersome system. Waking up at 6:30 to be able to try and get a boarding group at 7 a.m. And if you don't get one, I mean, there is one other drop, but potentially if it's a ride that you really want to ride, you're essentially most of your day or how happy you're going to be is dictated by a virtual lottery. And I think most people would much rather take their chances on just waiting in line if it's a ride they really want to ride. If it's something they're just like dead set on doing, this ride is the most important thing for me to do. I think most people would rather have the option. If it's that important, sure, I'll wait in line. Maybe it'll be an hour, maybe an hour and a half, but I think more people would rather do that, as I think there is more guest satisfaction in that type of system. Personally speaking, we've seen with Universal, they used to do virtual queues for Hagrid's. They haven't been doing that for a very long time. If you really want to ride it, it's a very popular ride. You're looking at a 60 to 90 minute wait. And for most people, I think if they, dead set and riding it, they'll wait in that. And I think it does give you the option on what you would rather do versus just being told you can't do it. So I think from that aspect, more guests are going to enjoy that, at least, infrequent guests. And I think we've seen Disney make this change from Genie Plus to Lightning Lanes, where it was much more closer to how it was with FastPass, obviously not free anymore, but I do think it was much more favorable to people who didn't know the ins and outs of the system, as much more, I guess you could just say, newbie friendly, and allowed for more people to be satisfied with that system potentially. So I think we're seeing Disney try and do more things maybe to be a little bit more guest friendly in that way. So speaking of options, there will be no change to the optional skip the line offerings for each attraction. Tiana's Bayou Adventure will remain part of the Lightning Lane multi-pass offering, and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind will remain a Lightning Lane single pass attraction. There are no operational changes at this time beyond dropping the virtual queue and introducing a traditional standby queue. Now, I will say, I think with Cosmic Rewind, obviously I don't know this, I'm taking a guess here, you potentially here aren't going to have the virtual queues. You just open up the standby. They potentially could sell more single lane, Lightning Lane attractions by doing this. Obviously, we'll never know. I don't know how many they sell per day. It does frequently sell out, but I could see why doing this type of system, you don't have the virtual queue there. You could potentially offer more single pass Lightning Lanes that could be available for sale that they make more money on. That is a possibility. Obviously, that's just me guessing about that, but that's something that I do think potentially could be in play here, of just selling more of them instead of just offering the virtual queue. And I think having the standby showing more than likely going to be an hour plus wait, you would potentially get more people to buy it, other than just not being, how it was before. If you didn't get a virtual queue, a lot of people would just try and get the single pass option and just pay for it. You could do the same thing with this, but maybe being able to sell more. I don't know. It's just a guess, but I think that's possible. What's part of it, what's going on. And that's what I meant by a win-win, where more guests are happy with this type of system and Disney might sell more single lane lightning lanes. It says the end of the virtual queues at each attraction is significant, but perhaps for different reasons. Starting with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, the attraction has been a smash hit since it debuted back in May 2022 at Epcot. Initially, the virtual queue was somewhat of a no-brainer given just how popular the ride is and was. Back in June, we noticed that they had installed extended queue area for Cosmic Rewind with umbrellas, but they didn't do the extended queue then. They're just now doing it now, so they may have been waiting on that. And then there, in terms of, there has been a lot of questions about some of the more recent Disney attractions. Cosmic Rewind's not one of them. It's a fantastic roller coaster. So I think that's something that has been it has been a hit for them. But I'd say the newest ride that has been the most popular would be Cosmic Rewind. Now, over at Magic Kingdom, Tiana's Bayou Adventure implemented a virtual queue for similar reasons, but kept the virtual queue longer than anticipated for seemingly different reasons. Initially, there was high demand to ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Magic Kingdom, and it still remains a popular choice today. However, Walt Disney World has previously announced that the virtual queue would only be in place for a limited time during the attraction's initial opening days. It says, but of course, Disney faced reliability concerns with the attraction and kept the virtual queue in place longer than initially planned. I mean, Tiana's has not needed virtual queue for a long time. It's just been there because it breaks down a lot. I am wondering, I don't think they necessarily have fixed Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I think they may have just opened up more B and C modes where a lot of people have reported that they're riding it more. Maybe it's becoming a little bit more reliable in that sense, but just not everything's working well on the rides. I don't think they necessarily have fixed Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but you just go through and maybe the animatronics aren't working or the sound isn't synced up, like whatever it is. I don't know I suppose you do get to ride it in that sense. It's not necessarily the best look when you're riding a ride that a lot of the stuff isn't working, but I suppose that is better than being, having the ride shut down or being escorted off of it. But I think that is partly what's going on here. And just from a demand standpoint, it hasn't needed virtual queue. And I think that's pretty clear. So we'll have to wait and see if the reliability of this improves as time goes on. Obviously, right now, being colder and cooler right now, the demand isn't very high for this, so it definitely isn't needed now. But, in the summertime months, typically water ride, you could see higher demand for it. And they just ended talking about newer attractions with high demand will use virtual queue. But I think it does bring into question the future of using virtual queues. Like I said earlier, I think Universal had tinkered with it as well, and there's really nothing that they use it for now. Now, obviously, you could with newer attractions. I don't think they'll be using it for anything at Epic Universe, but Disney probably will use it, say, when Test Track reopens. I'm sure they'll probably use it for that. But I do think, I think from a guest standpoint, like I said, I think guests would much rather take their chance to just say, hey, if I really want to ride this ride, I'll wait whatever I need to wait to ride it, or they won't, and they can make that choice versus just having essentially a lottery on your phone first thing in the morning that sort of dictates your day. I don't think that leaves most people very happy, especially if they don't get one. Now, I get why Disney and the theme parks like virtual queue because they like the idea of people waiting virtually for another ride while doing other things in the park, potentially buying things and trying, buying food, buying merchandise, doing other stuff than just waiting in a line. But I think from a guest standpoint, I don't think it's as much big of a hit with the guests for the most part. So I do wonder about the future of virtual queues at Disney because as of right now, there is no rides that are going to utilize it. I think the next one will be whenever Test Track comes back on, reopens in Epcot, you'll see it. But it may just be ones for new attractions only that have a lot of high demand and then they, go away rather quickly. So I think that could be what we see going forward. Now, if you are going to go to Epcot, especially with Guardians, this is going to change like rope drop because obviously I think it's going to relieve some of the lines that you have in like Ratatouille and Frozen and eventually when Test Track reopens. So it may make the rope dropping experience a little bit more even keeled there in terms of not as much demand for say like Ratatouille and things, but a lot of it is going to go to Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, probably undoubtedly. And that will change at least the rope dropping or early park access aspect of these, as also Cosmic Rewind is going to be part of the early morning access if you're staying on property, so that you are going to have much more of a demand first thing in the morning for this, and other rides may not have as much demand as they typically did before. So it's going to change the way that if you're going first thing in the morning for sure, and then how you can ride Cosmic Rewind and Tiana's Bayou Adventure here. So like I said, I think Disney might be trying to do something that is more what the guest wants, while also potentially maybe selling more lightning lanes along the way if they're opening more availability of those. So it could be sort of for Disney of maybe a win-win in their eyes of giving people more of what they want and them also potentially making more money. I do think these long extended times where you have all these rides have extended or virtual queues. I think that time period may be coming to an end, as I don't think guests really like them as much as Disney and other theme parks maybe would like the guests to like them, perhaps. But either way, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about virtual queues? Would you like them to stay, or would you rather see them go away and just wait in line for a ride that you want to ride? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.